All right, welcome back to Rebel Tribe After Hours. This is the part of the podcast where we kind of loosen the collar a little, pour something warm or something strong and have the conversation that doesn't really fit neatly in a box. Tonight I'm sitting with James Forman, illustrator, graphic designer, New York City native turned Northwest Arkansas creative, and yeah, we want to know how that happened. And someone
Long
whose
story.
artwork has quietly shaped more brands than you probably realize.
Mm.
He's worked with everyone from Fleer, Skybox, and Nickelodeon to Gap, Levi's, and even illustrated future Hall of Famers like Ken Griffey Jr. and Yogi Berra. But but here's what I'm kind of curious about.
What's that?
What does it look like to stay creative for 4 decades? I mean, what does it take to
Wow.
survive those shifts? Okay. Well, that's a
Um,
lot of shifts. I
that
mean,
is a
you were a
lot of
New York
shifts.
illustrator, and then you end up
Mm.
out here curating art in Arkansas. So
Yeah.
uh, please explain.
Um, I am not, I was never afraid of change. In fact, I kind of, I look for different, avenues to go down. I've done that my whole career. And I did start off as an illustrator in New York. I went to the School of Visual Arts in Manhattan. Graduated from there and became a fairly successful illustrator in New York City and across the country with different ad agencies and publications. I did stuff for Newsweek and um, uh, Sports Illustrated and publications like that. And I did a lot of advertising work and when different opportunities arose, and I also started a company called the Forman Group with my brother at the time, and we did a lot of work with apparel companies, which got me into other jobs. So we did a lot of marketing materials, and then all types of graphics for apparel companies like Levi's and um, who else? Drawing a blank all of a sudden. So apparel companies mostly, and the Gap. No, that's right, the Gap and Levi Strauss and Banana Republic. And so we did years of work for especially the Gap companies like Banana Republic and Old Navy. And so that was a highly successful period of my career. And I just whatever avenue that took me down, I if it was something that interests me, I did it. So if you have any questions, just pop
Oh,
in.
I do. Okay, I
Yeah, sure,
do.
sure.
How does a New York illustrator wind up
Mm,
in Rogers, Arkansas?
yes. Um, that's a long story. So I in the year 2000, I got married and moved to California after that, and I started again. I continued to work with in the apparel industry, doing graphics and out on the West Coast. And I worked for a company called Big Dog Sportswear back there, and that was a lot of fun. It was in Santa Barbara, a beautiful town to work in and live in. And so I was there for like 8 years doing graphics and made the company highly successful. The whole team was awesome. And so after that, we relocated back to the East Coast, and for various reasons, personal reasons. And once we were there, I got a call from Walmart of all places, and they asked us to come down and check it out, and if we liked the area, to they had a position for me there as a creative director. So, they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. So came down to Arkansas, and we liked it, and we stayed here for until now. So, and then unfortunately, I got divorced in the proceedings. But yeah, so that's what really what brought me down to Arkansas was a Walmart. And then I was never afraid of taking chances. I still am not. Um, so the Walton family started, they opened up the Crystal Bridges Museum here and then the Momentary. And I always wanted to be a part of like an art gallery, and it just intrigued me because working and living in the New York area, I especially during the 70s and early 80s when I was there, art was just booming, and I always loved the art business, and but it was never anything that I could pursue because I was working and making a living. But so when we relocated to Arkansas, and I was working at Walmart. I just thought there was an opportunity for an art gallery here that showed, like really upscale, um, um, contemporary art. So that's what I did. I just took a chance, and my spare time, built a art gallery in Rogers, Arkansas, and just learned as I went. Really, I didn't really know much of other than stuff on the periphery of the business. I didn't really know how the day-to-day workings of it went. I just dove in and took a chance. So yeah.
Yeah, say no more then. You wound up here like 90% of the people who live in Northwest
Right,
Arkansas.
exactly. I understand that.
Walmart.
Yes, 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 you're
Well, yeah,
absolutely right.
I think I'm one of the few who didn't come because of Walmart.
Right. Right. No, you're either from the outside or and relocated here, or you grew up here. That's about it. So and now a majority of the people here are from out of town, really.
Yeah, and like I said, it's Walmart or Tyson. Tyson's
Right.
another one.
Tyson or
So,
what are the all those shipping companies that are here to also, which I'm not remembering. But uh so yeah, so that's how that portion of my career started, and it continues to this day. It's I have a the gallery has since moved from Rogers to Bentonville, which is the home of Walmart, and it continues to thrive and grow, and yeah, so
it
um,
is pretty
God,
cool.
yeah,
I
God
haven't
willing,
seen the
it'll
new one in
keep
Bentonville.
going. What's that?
I said I haven't been to the new space in Bentonville, but I have been to the one in Rogers. I
Yes.
try not to go in there because every time I go in there, I buy something. So
And it's usually not a cheap purchase, so
that's okay.
yeah.
My husband doesn't. Yeah, he does mind actually. He's like,
Uh,
"What have you brought home now?"
yeah.
Well, that's
So go ahead.
that's quite a I don't know. What's is that how you actually? I mean, thinking back to New York,
Mm,
is this what you thought life was going to look like?
hmm. No. Not at all. Not at all. I thought I was going my big plan at the time, but that's the thing about life. You never know, what curveballs are going to be thrown at you, and what opportunities are going to be brought to you. And so yeah, I mean, no, I did not. I thought I was going to be an illustrator for the rest of my life and work for other companies. But things change, and the economy changes, and the world of illustration changed dramatically. Well, since I, got out of school. It went from everything being done by hand to everything being done by computer for the most part. That's a big, it's the generality, of course, but yeah, I mean, no, I didn't think that it would go this way. And I just, that's the thing I tell people all the time is that you never know what is going to be brought to your table and what people are going to pitch to you and what people are going to, you know, say to you that changes your mind and your trajectory in your career. So, yeah, but no,
I have
I
to
did.
ask.
Sure, go
I,
ahead.
well, being an East Coast gal myself,
Hmm.
and actually grew up just like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours from New York, and spent a
Hmm.
lot of time there. And then coming out here, it was like instant culture shock.
Yes, yes, yes. It was different. It was a different way way of life for me, especially. But I have to say that, living here in Northwest Arkansas, it sort of reminds me of growing up on Long Island. I mean, it's in the early days when I was a kid. It reminds me of that, and I don't hate it at all. I mean, I kind of like I was never, even though I went to school in New York City and spent a lot of time there, I was never like a city guy that, wanted to spend all of his time in New York. I went there for fun and then left. I mean, I was on the train all the time, going back and forth. So, um, yeah, so it's not, it's not foreign to me, the kind of like suburban lifestyle that we have
No,
here.
no, I understand completely. When I first got
Mm.
here, it was like, oh my God, what have I done? And
Right.
now it's like, I can't imagine living anywhere else. So,
Right, right. I remember when they first flew us down to Bentonville to check out the area initially. I'm talking about Walmart, of course. They flew us down, and we got here and got in our rent-a-car and we're driving from the airport to downtown Bentonville, and this is 2012 or 2011 around that time, and things are a lot different now. But when we were driving, we always saw was like fields and cows, and we were like, "Where the hell are we? What are what are we doing here? How is it possible that there's the billion-dollar company somewhere tucked away in Bentonville here? So
yeah,
it was
interesting.
culture shock for sure. Yeah,
Oh, I know. Just down the road from like Tyson World headquarters. Not now, but I remember when I first moved down here, just down the road from there was like cows in a field.
right,
Now you're
right,
like,
exactly,
wait a minute,
exactly.
Tyson,
Yeah.
cows.
Well, they do
Makes
raise
it handy.
chickens, so
I know. So it makes it handy. They also do beef. So,
right,
makes it
right.
handy. It's right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it was at the time that, Walmart was I'm sorry, Bentonville was kind of like a small town at that time, but now it's a very cultured town. I mean, there's, two amazing art museums here and lots of places to eat and, go out to, and so it's a lot different, and there are people moving here all the time from places like New York and California, so it's quite a difference from when I moved here.
You were talking a little bit ago, and I'm gonna get into the forbidden subject because I know everybody has a strong opinion about this.
Oh my God, what's that?
Well, you did illustration. I mean, and you did it
I
by
did.
hand, and now it's pretty much went through that whole digital age,
Mm,
and now we're
hmm.
in the world of AI.
Yes.
What do you think about all that?
Well, um I think the world we're living in right now and we have been living in is ever changing. And I remember, a lot of people when I was in college, especially, they had a very small computer classroom there. And I remember, we were such wise guys, the people that were doing illustration by hand and painting by hand. And there were a lot of uh, people that were doing comics and wanted to be, wanted to work for Marvel and stuff like that. We used to walk by the computer labs there and we were like, yeah, that's not gonna do it. Yeah, that's not gonna go anywhere. You're wasting your time. And then, very few years after we graduated out of SVA, we were like amazed at how much computers have taken a hold of the creative fields and, especially illustration and, things like that. It changed everything. So what I'm trying to say is that, you have to bob and weave and evolve with things. It does no good to complain about, the evolution of technology. What you have to do is just figure out, okay, this is happening. If I want to continue to eat and put food on the table, how do I use this to my best interests? So how do I use AI and make it work for me. And just like I did everything by hand initially when I got out of school, but with the advent of graphics on computer, I had to learn the computer. I had to figure out how this was going to work for me, and it did change my career trajectory. But you have to accept these things. If you fight it, it's not gonna benefit you at all. So yeah, so I mean, like AI is a force to be reckoned with, and you have to figure out how you can use it in your day-to-day job. If you don't, you're going to be left behind, and you're not going to be working. So um, that's what I would tell people, that are like, scared of AI and that's gonna, ruin the world. I don't believe that is so. Just like computers didn't ruin, people's work. I think that the same thing goes for AI. So
Uh, I wish more people would understand that it's a tool like
yeah.
everything else. It's a
All
tool.
right. And it is, I mean, AI, I mean, I use it almost every day and not so much creating, but writing and, creating verbiage for things and even questions about, technology itself. I mean, I do a lot of with I haven't talked about my apparel and my apparel business, but I have a graphic apparel business also, which I use AI constantly, and it's such a huge help um, to maneuver, through, the technology space and also just create like, paragraphs of information from my website and such. It's just a huge tool to have. Do I see people like losing. There are certain businesses I think are going to be impacted more with the growth of AI. I see that happening, but that's just the way of the world, and you have to be able to pivot. So
Well,
um, yeah,
that's what I keep telling everybody. If you want to stay ahead of the crowd, you better learn this stuff because
exactly,
it's not
exactly.
going away. So you
And
can
it
either
can,
learn it now and master it and be golden or you can sit back and sit on your hands and
I
whine and
mean, it
boo-hoo
can
and
be
then
your
get left
friend.
behind.
So yeah, I mean, it can be your friend. I mean, I use it. I use AI all the time for writing information, in writing, paragraphs of information, descriptions of things, and for my apparel website. And I don't know where I would be without it, to be honest, because I am not a great writer by any stretch of the imagination. So I mean, if I didn't have this, I'd be toiling away for hours and hours and hours. So, I think it's a great tool. Is it scary? Does it scare people? Yeah, of course it does. But you have to embrace it a little bit and not be so afraid of it.
I want to know about the guys that were down the hall from you. You said they wanted to be the next big Marvel guy, because I admit I am a huge MCU fan. Okay, in case you couldn't
Okay.
tell. Okay, in case you couldn't tell.
I see that. Yes, that's awesome. No, I still have many friends that do work for Marvel and do stuff on their own and publish their own comic books and do all the Comic Cons and all that stuff. So yeah, no, it's I mean that's a good example of a business that was back in the 70s and such, people thought that comic books were just going to fade away and it was a struggling industry. And now it's thriving and there's production companies all based on those characters. So, um, I mean, things change on a dime. So you have to really just hang in there if it's something you really love. And I know plenty of people that did hang in there during the really hard times, and now it's a thriving industry. So there you go.
So can I go to Comic Con and toss your name around and see if
They don't know me. They may know some friends of mine, but they'll be like, "Who?" No one's dressing up like me at the Comic Con.
Darn.
Walking around with a shaved head and black shirt on. Yeah, no one's doing that. That's funny though. That would
I
be a
gotta
whole different.
ask.
That would
I
be a
gotta
whole
ask.
different Comic-Con.
I gotta ask because you did some work for some big, I mean, some massive brands, and I
Mm,
have a lot of friends that are artists,
mm,
and I mean, and I've had a couple of them tell me that they're not doing as well as they envisioned when they first started their art career, and that
uh-huh.
they've had opportunities to
Right.
work for some of these brands or whatever, but they were afraid
Mm,
that they wouldn't be able to keep their own artistic voice
in-
intact, I guess, when
integrity. Yeah.
because they're working inside someone else's concept, someone else's vision. How did
Yes.
how did you do that? How did you
Well,
manage to bridge that?
yeah. I mean that. I mean, I always, for the most part, always work for myself. I mean, I ever since I got out of school, I was a self-employed person, and I had to have the guts and the drive to get work, and that was not always easy, but that's just the way I'm made. A lot of people are not that built that way, and they prefer to work for a company, which is great. I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's awesome. um, but I was always an entrepreneur at heart. And so, you know, I tell people it depends on what you want. I mean, if you want security and you want health insurance and you want, benefits and all that stuff, there's nothing bad about working for a large, corporate place. I mean, are they as creative? Do you have the creativity and the freedom um, to do what you want? No, you don't. But you have to take the good with the bad, really. I mean, I when I worked for Walmart, was did I have the freedom to do whatever I want, and I had to answer to people that may not be creative people and did not understand what we did. I mean, we were like a team outside all the other teams. So the corporate and the leadership did not really understand what we did, and they know what the result was and the finished product was, but did they know how we did it and the problems that we go through to create these things? No, they don't understand that. So if you want security and you're not an entrepreneur at heart and you're not driven like, people like me are, you're gonna have a hard time. Um, but so I would recommend you have to have an honest conversation with yourself and understand that what kind of person am I? What do I put my priorities on? Do I care? Do I want to be creative and be secure and in a good solid paycheck every other week? Or do I don't care about that so much. I just want to be creative and you know listen to myself and just do what I want to do. So that, you have to make a decision, and and that's one thing I'd like to mention on your podcast is that they don't teach a lot of this stuff in college. I mean, you're yes, they teach you how to be creative and different mediums to work with and blah blah blah, but the business itself, once you step out the door, maybe things have changed because I'm an old guy now, but I mean things have changed where they teach you about the business, what's going to happen when you leave that building. Um, if they teach that, great. I think that's very important. But if you're when I was in school, I don't remember being taught anything about what's going to happen when you leave this building. And you just like step out there and like, you know, now what? What do I do now? Um, they told you the basics, but they didn't really prepare you like they should. I mean, that's an important aspect of schooling, and especially for creative people. What happens when you leave? What happens when you're done with school? Um, so so yeah, I mean, you have to really figure out what is important to you and what is important to your career uh, choices. What do you think? What do you want to do with your life? And how important is money? How important is security? How important um, is those things to you? And so, like I said, I mean, if you want security, I mean that's more the that's I see at the time when I was hired by Walmart, my life changed totally. I was married, I had a child. Those priorities change in your life, and you have to make decisions based upon those changes. So, I'm not sure if I answered your question. So, because I'll just ramble on and on.
I've been known to do that a time or two. It's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I
So
mean, it's hard. Go ahead.
are
I'm
you
sorry.
still creating art, or are you just curating
I
media
do
now?
create art. I create art in a different way. So I have my art gallery, which is creative in its own way. I curate art for the gallery. I uh, I also, well, I shouldn't really say this, but anyway, I do work under a pseudonym, and I work under the name of Alias. I should probably that kind of ruins the whole thing now. But I work under that name, and it's more digital art, and I sell it in my gallery, and also I started a t-shirt company a couple of years ago called Amped Apparel, and it's a different, it's more graphic oriented, and the graphics I create for it are a lot of verbiage and but there's also a lot of imagery involved in it also. And it's so it's a whole different type of creation for me, but I enjoy it just as much. So yeah, so yes, so the short answer is yes, I do. I do create stuff, but in a, it's just different. And like I said earlier, I like change and I like, taking risks and so yes, and plus the whole thing behind the business of apparel, which of course involved with the I have to I have to design the website and how it looks and the vibe behind it, and also all types of advertising I do for it and social media posts. So all of that is done by me, and so it's all a creative outlet, but it's all different and but I welcome it. I like variety in my life, and so that's what I'm working on right now.
So since you're doing that now instead of working for Walmart or some of
Mm.
those other companies, is that do you have a little more freedom, do you think, or is it
Oh,
just a different kind of
absolutely,
pressure?
absolutely. The freedom is, I mean, I basically create whatever I feel strongly about, and so it's a whole different vibe. But I prefer that. I mean, I've gone through different phases of my career, and I've, naturally, even as an illustrator, or a graphic designer, you have to answer to somebody. You have to, there are art directors or owners or, creative directors that you have to answer to. And you have to be thick-skinned and be able to take criticism and direction. Um, it's not always easy because not everybody is a creative person, even though there's the word creative in their title. They're not always creative folks. And so yeah, I mean, you have to bob and weave and take criticism, and it's not always easy. It's not always easy for creative people to take criticism, believe it or not. And you would think it would be after going through years of schooling, but sometimes, the creative person is a little wiser to, what is needed to be done than the director of the project. So you have to be able to you know take criticism. And working for myself now 100% you know yes, I have to be aware of what would sell in the market and what people would like. So the public is more my art director than anybody. I have to be aware and see what's going on in the culture in the world and in entertainment and all that stuff. So yeah, everybody has somebody to answer to and somebody to listen to and take the pulse of what's going on in the world. But it definitely is more, you have more freedom for sure.
How do you decide what to put in the gallery?
Oh, that's interesting. So, um, well, like I said previously, you have to understand what the market is, what the how do I put this? Like, what the market and what the buyers in your area and the taste level of the people in your area are looking for. So that's a whole nother thing that you have to really reach into. And also, the pricing of artwork has to be what the market bears in your area. I mean, you have to, you're not, I mean, especially here, when I first opened my gallery, I had the assumption that because it was became more cultural here, and that there were people with money here. You would think that they want to spend their money on expensive pieces of art, and that's not always the case. I mean, um, you have to understand that, you know, you have to understand your marketplace and what is important, what is important to the people that are going to be coming through your gallery. And if expensive art or art that um, it will increase in price and is important to them, then you have to have artworks in the gallery that are or the fit that bill. If not, you have to adjust and you have to find art that will appeal to them, and hopefully they'll buy it. But it's like every other business in the world. You have to figure out who your customer is and what they're apt to buy, and what they're apt, how much money they would spend on a piece of artwork that's going to hang on their wall. So it's like everything. It's like every other business, really. You have to understand, who your customer is and how much, how much of an importance art is to them.
'Cause I have to admit, I've been in there a few times and I've seen pieces I've absolutely loved, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, what is it going to take to convince Daryl that I need this?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then I've seen other things in there that I'm looking at it going, what is that?
Right. Right. No, I've seen lots of couples come in and, one spouse would talk the other out of something, with like right in front of you, and you're like, oh man. You know, it's just funny watching people discuss art and how important it is to them. So
We
yeah,
have
I
vastly different
understand.
tastes in art, but yeah,
Yes.
but I have to admit, you've got some stuff in there that's like, I don't know what that is exactly,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
okay.
You do have to take some chances occasionally with stuff, and see what works and what doesn't work. And like I said before, it's just when I first opened the gallery, I had some really outrageous stuff in the gallery in Rogers, and I was like, let's see what happens." I had some stuff that was questionable as far as sexuality and stuff like that. And but you live and learn. You have to learn who your customer is, and there's only one way of doing that, and that's by showing them stuff that might be outrageous. And I've had people walk out of the gallery that's that just said,
Hmm.
especially with kids, they're like, oh, okay, let's take Johnny out of here. It's an interesting study of human beings, because
Mhm.
you learn so much by watching them react to art.
Well, I can imagine, especially
Yeah.
considering where we live.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I'm from New York, so I was like, yeah, this will go. Then people will appreciate this. And they're like, no, no. So I mean, you got to learn your customer. So, yeah.
What do you see happening in the art world right now?
Hmm. I think it's a tough time for art. From everything I've seen and everything I've read, people are people are very concerned about spending money on art, I think. Unless you're in the stratosphere of art collecting. But I think your everyday ordinary collector is they're being very cautious about where they spend their money. And I can understand that. I mean, we're going through some crazy times in this country and in the world. And I think we're going to have to see where things go. But definitely, people are holding tight to their money, and I get it. I understand it. But um, like I said, unless you're in the stratosphere of fine art collecting and blue chip art, that's a whole different that's a whole different world. But that's not where I am. I mean, I'm trying to sell to, either starting collectors or, people that there's a lot of people that are retired and the kids are out of the house and they're, trying to upgrade their collection and or they're, moving to, a house by the lake and they want some really good art in there. So yeah, that's my customer. But as far as but I think those are the people that are holding tight. I mean, they're waiting to see what happens and wait to see where the wind is blowing. But hopefully things will settle down and we'll get back to some sort of normality here.
Yeah, I'm noticing that. Like I said, I have artist friends that are, and that's what they seem to be wrestling with right now is
Yes.
the economy. Nobody wants to buy their art.
And I
And
and I feel bad for the artists because there were I mean there were those few just a few years ago before COVID, you know people were buying art like mad and artists were very happy about being a fine artist, and but now it's a tough go. So but we have to hang in there, and hopefully things will pick up a little bit.
I'm seeing some that are actually they're adapting fairly well. I've seen some that are like, okay, you don't want to buy my painting.
Mm,
Will you buy my print? Which
right.
is way
That's
cheaper. Well, if
that
I
is a
put
very
it on a
good.
greeting card, I know someone out in Colorado who that's what she's doing right now. She's putting her art on greeting cards, and
That's
the
awesome.
cards are selling like crazy.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I can't sell the painting for the hundreds of dollars, but if I sell a whole bunch of greeting cards, I'm still making hundreds of dollars, so I don't care.
Right. I mean, affordability is probably the key word now. Um, uh, Prints usually do really well, and they continue to do really well because they're affordable, and you can get a really nice print of a piece that's hanging, for thousands of dollars, and you can buy a print for 100 and a half. So, yeah, I totally get it, and I understand why, artists are, making prints out of their work. I mean, it makes total sense.
Do you think it's kind of like maybe kind of like the authors who self-publishing used to be so
Mm,
looked down on. It used to be like
hmm.
almost a stigma if you said you self-published, and now it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
okay, it's an affordable way to get your book out there. Nobody cares anymore. Do you
exactly.
think kind of the prints are kind of the same thing? It's like, okay, if
Yeah,
you were a real artist, you'd have your work up in galleries and you wouldn't be selling prints.
right. Well, I think that's true. I mean, I think that's very similar to self-publishing. But it's a lot of I mean a lot of artists also are selling their prints on their own website and going around the galleries and such. It's so that I see as just like another avenue of selling your artwork, is selling it directly to the customer. And I don't blame them for doing that. I mean, if I was a fine artist and you know wanted to make money, I there's absolutely would I sell it on my own website and sell it directly to the public. At the same time, I am in the business of selling, original artwork for the most part. I mean, I do have some prints in my gallery, and they sell quite well. Um, so, there's so many avenues. That's what I'm trying to say. There's so many avenues of selling today that weren't available years ago, and self-publishing is a great example of that. I know lots of people that self-publish, and it's not looked down upon at all because they made it so convenient and easy to do so. Yeah, it's just it's people look down at that people complain about all the technology and how it's advancing, but they're at the same time it's creating ways of selling your work and that were never here before. So um, uh, you know whatever works for you, and whatever however you can get your work out there in the public and sell it, that's wonderful. I, so
Personally, I think it's just good business. I mean,
yeah, it is
unless
good
you really
business.
want to get off on that starving artist thing.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know too many artists that want to embrace that anymore. I mean, there, there used to be like something to, embrace. And I don't see anything positive about starving. So,
It's not nearly as romantic as
no, it is
that's
not
written
romantic
in
at
all
all.
the little stories. Okay.
Right.
It pretty well is
Exactly
not
right.
fun.
Exactly right.
I have friends that are telling me that they're struggling to get into galleries.
Mm.
How does that work? How do you get into a gallery?
Well, um, the best way is just, I mean, I know the real high-end galleries probably a challenge. But mid-range galleries like myself, I would just give them a call and email them, and you know I've had people just like walk in the door with artwork, to show me. And, some people poo-poo that and say, you have to make an appointment and, come in when I'm available. But, a lot of time especially when I had my gallery in Rogers, people used to walk in all the time and show me artwork and what do you think? And, um, I had to tell them that you're going to get a unvarnished opinion, so you have to be prepared. And I did that. And sometimes I've heard back from them after they uh, did a course correction, and sometimes I did not hear from them. So you have to have it's not an easy business. You have to have thick skin, but as far as like reaching out to gala, I would just reach out to them and say, "Are you looking for artists?" I get emails at least once a day from artists asking me if I'm, open to looking at their work. And I said, "Sure. Like, send me some JPEGs of your work, and we'll see if it fits our gallery, and if I think it would sell in our area." And they do so, and I tell them yes or no, and if I'm interested, they'll bring it in person. I'll take a look at it in person, and um, we'll see how it goes. But it's like I said before, when you're working for somebody, or working freelance, it's not an easy thing. It's a competitive market, even though it's a fine art market. You have to be prepared for honest opinions, and if you get it, you either have to pay attention or move on. But as far as reaching out to galleries, I would just do so and find out in your area which are the better selling or galleries in your area, and see, just ask them and just be blunt about it. But I have to say that, especially in my case, you you have to take it upon yourself to also work it. And when I say that, I mean that, the gallery is doing their part. They're advertising the fact that they're carrying your work, and they're showing, taking your pieces, taking up real estate on their wall, which is it's not a cheap thing, to have a piece on a wall in the gallery for a period of time. You also have to, and a lot of people don't agree with my opinion here. You also have to do your part, and you have to promote the fact that your art, because the gallery might not be reaching your people. The gallery at first, the gallery might not be, um, showing your work to the people that are following you on social media. So it'll behoove you to reach out to your folks and reach out to the people that are following you and love your work, to let them know that your work is being shown in a gallery nearby, or, within driving distance or whatever. Um, because especially, believe it or not, especially young artists, this is something that they're, people starting out, artists that are starting out in their career, they don't understand that they have to do their part in this process also. And a lot of people just hand you their work. And I mean, I've had this happen to myself. They hand you their work to show, and you never hear from them again. you know, and I'm like, how you need to do your due diligence, and promote yourself also, because it's a promoting game. I mean, if you're not promoting, you're dead in the water. So you have to, the artists have to take it upon themselves to promote the fact that they're in a gallery, and we'll do our part, and together, you'll sell artwork. But, so I know I went off course, but it's a very important part of the business, I think.
Well, you
I
touched
mean,
a
if
little
you're
sore spot with me because I'm kind of in the same boat and I don't understand. It's like, okay, I put you on my podcast or I
right,
put you on the stage at my summit that I do every year. So I'm giving
right,
you access to and you don't promote yourself.
right, right,
I don't get
right.
it. I honestly
I
don't
don't
get
know
it.
if it comes with just experience, and just, learning from mistakes, but I mean, you can be sure I'm going to use this podcast as a way of promoting my businesses. I mean, you can guarantee it. And I think maybe because I've been around a while, and I've learned from, you know uh just, experience, that you have to do these things, or else, no one's going to know your name. So yeah. So I mean, it's just, if I had any advice for any young artist, it would be, promote yourself, and especially young kids that are just starting out in art. I mean, you would think they'd be social media savvy, but they're not. You know, they're good at showing, pictures of them, partying with their friends, but they don't understand that you have to promote your art online too. And it really doesn't cost anything but time, so I don't get it, but it's just, it's something that I think you have to learn, or you just probably will get out of the business eventually. But it's important. It's important. Social media is a highly important, and email is very important. And so if you're doing all of those things, you'll probably succeed.
Did you ever find a piece of art when somebody brought it in? He said people would just bring it in. Did you ever see something that you were just like, oh, I have to have that in my gallery?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, many times actually. especially younger, I'm not younger, but I mean local artists. And we have many, many local artists in this area that are terrific. And I when I first opened my gallery, I wanted to highlight young um, local talent, and I wasn't sure that they were. I mean, I knew of a few names, and I knew that I wanted to have their work in the gallery, but I didn't quite know how many really talented people there were around here. And so I go out of my way to, find them and put them in the gallery and promote the fact that they're local because I mean I have people come in all the time and asking me all these local artists, and I mean that gives you an idea that the fact that they're local is very important to the art collectors in this area.
Did you ever get anybody that you just looked at it and were like, don't give up your day
Oh,
job?
well, I don't say it like that. I mean, although I probably wanted to. But no, I mean, I try to be very, very, God, what's the word? Not politically correct, but I mean, I try to I try to give them advice about how possibly to not improve, but you know, there are a lot of artists that come in and they're um, especially young people. They come in and they have many different styles, and it's like all over the place. And I'm like, I usually ask them. I go, "What do you really love to do? What style speaks to you, and what type of work do you really, really, really love to do?" And it's and a lot of them are confused by that, but they don't they think that you can, have many different styles. I think that's because of, that's probably part of the fact that they're young. Because when you're young, you try many different things and um but even as an illustrator, when I was in that business, you know, art directors and creative directors and people in publishing, they want a style. They want something that they can, you know, identify you with. And if you're all over the place, they don't know what they're going to get when they give you a project. And that's concerning to them. So, and the same thing goes with, fine art. If you're all over the place and it's great when you're young and you're in school and you're just experimenting, but if you're trying to sell, your artwork, you need a look, and I know that sounds like, superficial crap, but it's really true. And so, especially a lot of young people, they come in and oh, I do this, I do that, I draw, I use crayons. I mean, I'm like, you have to narrow your focus a little bit and and come in with a vision of sorts, and so that is one piece of advice I would give people is to really, and I know it's easy to say, and it's never um it's not an easy thing to tell people, but you have to focus, and you have to have a style. And so that's one thing that I see a lot of people making mistakes with. So it's not a mistake, but it's like, it's youth usually.
It's kind of like a brand. I mean,
Yes.
you look at
Yes.
a Picasso, you know it's Picasso.
Yeah,
You may not know
absolutely.
what piece, but you can look at it and go, that's Picasso.
Exactly.
Okay. Or,
Exactly.
same
But
thing. You know,
once again, it did take him years to get to that, famous Cubist style. I mean, he was painting, realism for years, and then it wasn't selling, and he had to pivot, and but um, so yeah, but it's like everything else. So you need a look that people can identify you with.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I can look. I know well, Marcia. We'll use her as an example. I can look at one of
Mhm.
her photographs and know that's Marcia's work. I don't
Yes,
even have to. That's
absolutely.
Marcia's work. I know it as soon as I see it, and it's like,
Yes.
that's kind of what you need to have these
We're
days. You
talking
need to
about
have that
Marsha
thing.
Lane Foster, by the
Yeah.
way. Just, just so we're clear about, yeah, she's a terrific photographer.
Oh, I know. And yeah, yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't even have to look to see anymore. I could go, I know who did
Mm-mm.
that. That's Marcia's work.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
And the same for me when I, was illustrating. I had a distinct style, and, for a long time, it did change. I went from doing like pointillist type work, really tedious, dots, and to, but I did pivot because, and here's a good example of why I pivoted because, they were, in advertising, especially, uh, they were taking a lot of photographs because of, being able to do it, and with computer is taking a photograph and put it, run through a dot screen, and, so that a lot of people that were working in my area, like, used doing, pointillism, were, out of work. So I had to, I mean, I had to pivot, and I went back to painting realism, um, with pen, with oils, and acrylic. And, so that, but that's a good example of, like, technology's telling you, you know, your style of art is either changing, or it's being able to be created cheaply and fast, and, so you have to figure out what the next avenue for you is.
and therein is the challenge, I think, for so many artists, from what I'm hearing,
Hmm. Yeah, it's
they
tough.
don't know where to
I
go
mean,
next.
it is not an easy business. It's like every other kind of business. Um, I remember when I was in college, fine artists, the fine art kids used to look down at us because we were commercial artists, and we were, was selling out. And I'm like, even then I thought to myself, like, you're going to have to do the same thing. You're going to have to, lug your stuff around to galleries and sell your work. And it sounded to me like it was even harder, because, I mean, there's only so many galleries, and there's only so many, you know, there's so much space on their wall. I mean, what's the difference between selling your artwork, for publishing or advertising, than, trying to promote yourself to a gallery owner? There's not a heck of a lot of difference.
Well, James, this has been such a good conversation.
Oh,
I mean,
good.
seriously, I learned a lot about art. I am not an
Thank
artist.
you.
I can't even draw stick people. Okay. I'm serious. Okay.
I'm sure you could if you wanted
No, I
to.
can't. Trust me. Okay. And it's sad because my mother was an artist. My sister can draw. My
Oh,
daughter
wow.
can draw. My grandson can draw. And that little gene just went whoop.
Well, it's in there somewhere, I assure you.
That's why I love digital. I love the digital age of art because
Uh-huh.
it's like, oh,
Right.
look, I can do stuff now.
I'm a graphic designer. Yeah.
I am.
Hmm.
But I love hearing from people who actually are creative and can do this stuff, and especially someone who's just, you've built something real over time. I know I
Mm.
made the thing about the 4 decades and but that wasn't meant to be a jab at, how
Oh,
you've been
no.
doing this forever. I mean, you've been
Yeah,
in
no,
this
I'm proud
business
of I'm proud of
forever.
everything
Yeah,
I've done. Yeah.
built this
Yeah.
thing, over all this time, and it
Right.
wasn't overnight, and it wasn't
No.
viral, and it wasn't algorithm driven, but it's a
Mm-mm.
real craft. It's a real art and it had real
Indeed.
staying power. And so I'm just glad
Indeed.
we got to talk.
Yeah, same here. It's nice talking to you.
So, Tribe, if you're listening and this episode stirred something in you, and maybe you've been sitting on your own creativity a little, consider this your nudge. Obviously, you don't have to live in New York.
No, you don't. Not today.
We have galleries here that are quite wonderful, actually.
Yes.
But you do have to decide to show up. That's the big one.
It's work.
So,
It's work like everything else.
so James, thank you for hanging out after hours. And if you are in Northwest Arkansas, you can find James at the Art Collective Gallery in Bentonville, and I will drop links in the show notes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being on my show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.